Good afternoon, grade 11s. Welcome to our business studies class. Today, we are still looking at your pricing and distribution policy. We are done with our pricing policy. However, we'll be looking at the distribution policy. Grade 11s, for those who are just joining us today, welcome to our 17th lesson. My name is Hector S. Nkos. All right. So as I said to you earlier on, we've already done with the pricing policy. Now we'll be looking at your distribution policy. All right, I need my highlighter. Now, grade 11s. Yesterday, I explained the meaning of distribution and the meaning of the channel of distribution. Remember, when it comes to distributions, it's how your goods will be distributed to the customers, right? I explained the channel of distribution, that the channel of distribution basically is that how are you going to transport or deliver those goods to your respective customers. So yesterday we finished here under the 3 kinds of participants in the distribution channel. We said it starts from the service provider, then there's an intermediaries, and there's customer. I did explain to you, we used the Coca-Cola example yesterday. I said a service provider will be Coca-Cola, then an intermediary will be any supermarket like Pick n Pay, Macro, Spar, ShopRite, Pick n Pay, Woolies and stuff. Then your customers, it's your individuals basically. Now, I want us to go deep on the meaning of intermediaries, right? So now, intermediaries are the people that are in between, they've got a relationship between the service provider and the relationship with the customers, right? So now it is very important for you to understand what is an intermediary in a case study that is given and who is the customer and who's the service provider. Now, let's go into detail when it comes to intermediaries. Remember here, it's all the people that fall into distribution process. So the people that fall into the distribution process between the producer and customer, right? So very important, between the producer and the customer. Right. One thing I said to you, they are middlemen, basically, right? They are middlemen and they act as negotiators. They act as negotiators and mediators, right? Between producers and customers. Those are your intermediaries, basically, right? They're the ones that communicate between your negotiators. Between your producers and customers, right? Intermediaries can be wholesalers, so they can be seen as your wholesaler, right? So your intermediaries can be seen as what? As your wholesaler. It can also be seen as your retailers. It can also be seen as agents and brokers, basically, right? So we know that in intermediary, yesterday I made an example with a wholesaler, a retailer, agents, and brokers. They can act as your intermediaries, right? They are responsible for the transportation, storage, and delivery of the goods and services. The organizations involved in distribution channel are known as intermediaries. Now, I want to give you a task for a minute, and please do it, guys. Now, I want you to give me an example of a wholesaler, an example of a retailer, an example of an agent, an example of a broker. Only a minute, and your time starts now. All right, grade 12, grade 11s, your time just ended now. So now let's look at this basically. Now, we said now you've got wholesalers, retailers, agents, and brokers, right? Remember now that your wholesalers can be seen as your macro, your retailers. You can make an example of your Pick and Pay, your agents. You can make your example like your the things that sells are not so popular products and your brokers, right? Okay. Remember now, organizations involved in the distribution channel are known as intermediaries. Very, very important, boys and girls. Now, let's look at the different types of intermediaries, right? Wholesalers primarily sells to retailers. Retailers market directly to the final consumer, and the agent sells product on behalf of manufacturers for a commission. Your brokers is a person who buys and sells goods for others, right? Now, let's look at the role of intermediaries, right, in the distribution process. What role do they play, basically, boys and girls? Is finding the locating buyers on behalf of the producer, right? Right. So now, it's also help in promoting the product, right? Also, your intermediaries are specialists in selling, right? So they are specialists in selling. Sorry. Sorry, guys, I'm just having a technical problem here. I don't know what's happening. Right. Sorry, guys. And also they can achieve a greater sales by using intermediaries, right? Also, intermediaries, they are your producers may not have the expertise or resources necessary to sell directly to the public. The intermediary may be able to provide more efficient distribution logistics, for example, transporting the product to various points of sale. The over distribution cost may be lower using the intermediary than your business. Underlook the distribution, basically, boys and girls, isn't it? And also, even when the intermediary commission is taken, basically, boys and girls, right? So it is very important for you to understand such information and understand where are your intermediaries coming in and stuff like that. Does it make sense, boys and girls? So please, 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 please make sure that you do understand all the types of distributions and you understand where they are coming from and stuff, right? Now, let's look at the different types of distribution channels. So these are the different types of distribution channels on how we can distribute our products, right? You can have a manufacturer to producer or consumer. This is the shortest channel as the producer sells directly to the consumer, right? It is usually found in the public sector where you just get your goods straight from the manufacturer or your producer to the consumer. Does it make sense? Now, let's look at the second one. Now, the second one now, boys and girls, is from your manufacturer or producer to retail to consumer. Right. Now, The producer sells goods to the consumer using the retailer. This is a single distribution channel, and it is aimed at selling a large scale retailers, right? Right. Sorry, I don't know what's really happening with my thingy, with my PC today. All right. Now, this single distribution channel and is aimed at selling at a large, very important, at a large scale retailers, right? Your manufacturer or producer, wholesaler, retailer, consumer. So this one starts from the producer goes to the wholesaler, meaning here it can start at Coca-Cola, then from Coca-Cola it can go to Macro, or Macro, then from Macro it can go to Pick and Pay, then to consumers. This is called a traditional distribution channel. Majority of the time it's like this. The consumer buys from the shop, which buys from a wholesaler, which then gets in stock in bulk from the manufacturer. Also, consumer products such as maize meal are sold by the producers to the wholesalers, who gain sell to retailers, then to consumers, right? So the example can be maize meal. The distribution channel is usually used in rural areas. So this, it's normally used in your rural areas. I don't know why it's highlighting like this, but I just wanted to highlight the last point. Just a second. Right. Then let's see. The others are manufacturer, wholesaler, retailer. So there is no consumer, meaning that this is where the wholesaler buys from the producer and sells directly to retailers. The cash and carry wholesalers, for example, is your cash and carry sells directly to retailers for consumption. Then we've got the manufacturer, agent, wholesaler, retailer, and consumer. Agent often connects to the manufacturer, right? To the wholesaler or retailer. The more intermediaries there are in a distribution channel, the more consumers can be reached, basically. So the more we put distribution channels, is the more consumers can get the product, especially consumers in rural areas who will have to access to goods. So we know in the rural areas, there are lots and lots of channels, right? Right. Now, let's look at the second one. Now, boys and girls, let's look at the differences between your direct and indirect channels, distribution channels. So your direct and indirect channels of distributions. Now, let's look at the direct ones. The direct channels of distributions is that it carry all the risks when you're doing it directly. But if you're doing it indirectly, guys, if you jump from the manufacturer to the producer, risk are shifted to intermediaries during the distribution of the product to the end of the user. Your direct channels, we know that it involves the producer and the consumer, whereas the middleman between the producer and the consumer, right here. Then when we look at your direct channels, also the wholesalers and retailers are cut from the process. Whereas here, the wholesalers and retailers act as negotiators between the producer and consumers. The marketing and selling of products to the consumers without involving the middleman here. Here, it's specialized agents deals with your customers. There's so many of them. Then the marketing and selling of okay, we've already covered this one. There is a full control over products and marketing. So very important point. Here, there's a full control, right? Here, there's a very little feedback from customer. The better end user price has no intermediaries costs. Transportation and storage is taken care by intermediaries. Also here, it provides immediate feedback. Manufacturers make use of middlemen such as wholesalers, agents, brokers, and retailers. Also under your direct channel, needs more specialized employees who are trained, more specialized employees who are trained. Whereas here, the manufacturer is not knowledgeable about the distribution of the product. Better end use price as no intermediary cost. Here, products must be expensive when we're using the indirect. Products may be expensive as cost are intermediary cost added. Now, let's look at the reasons as why manufacturers may prefer to make use of direct or indirect distributions. So these are the reasons why I may prefer to make the direct distributions. Then we're going to look at the what you call the reasons for indirect distributions. So why would we make direct decisions? These are the reasons. Manufacturers have control over the product they're making. So there is what? Control over the product and marketing. They achieve better end user price as there is no intermediaries costs. The business does not need to share its profit margin with intermediaries. Products become very expensive once all the intermediaries have added their own markups. And also, guys, there is a direct contact with target markets for feedback and improvements. Very good. A direct contact with target markets and feedback improvements. Sales staff provide customer information for future market research. Your selling through the internet allows smaller businesses to market their own products over the world. Business websites can serve as both, very important. So your website can serve as both distribution and promotion method. We know that sometimes the website, it can serve as distribution and promotion. Well-trained sales staff are being able to promote products effectively and establish a good relationship with customers. That's also an important point. Suitable intermediaries may not be available, right? May not be available intermediaries and may not be willing to sell a particular product on behalf of the manufacturer. So these are the reasons on why manufacturers may prefer to use a direct distribution method. Now, let's look at the reasons why the manufacturer will make use of your indirect distribution method. We know that here, guys, there's a specialized agent deal with customers. Transportation and storage is taken care by intermediaries. There is no need to hire specialized staff to do sales complaints. They do not have to deal with customers' complaints. They enjoy the benefits of bulk orders from wholesalers. Better market coverage is achieved. Very good. Love this point. Intermediaries understand how market operates. Your consumers are often spread across the country. Distribution needs to be dispersed as well. Direct distribution requires a large investment in advertising also. Also, boys and girls, your intermediaries sometimes provides a credit to customers. Very important point. Which will help to attract more customers or consumers. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Today we finished very early. I thought it was going to take us much more time. So we are done with this chapter. Now you know the difference between what? You know the difference between your pricing policy and your distribution policy. You know all the different types of pricing. Why do we do pricing and stuff? Yesterday and today we looked at distribution policy. We said how do we distribute products to the various platforms and stuff. Grade 11s. I hope everything is making sense so far. Remember, you're only left with like 18 months to write your metric. Please stay focused. You are almost there. We are always here to help you guys. And from my side, I say have a lovely evening. Goodbye.